We are your home theater and AV questions answered. This is AVRant. Want your home theater or AV question answered by Tom and Rob? Send it to question@avrant.com. Welcome to AVRant. I'm Tom Andry, and I'm here with
Rob H.
Nick. Nick heard Joe Kane advocating for using biased lighting even with a projection setup, but Joe didn't go into specifics about how to actually implement it. Wouldn't a biased light wash out the image on the screen? And what if you're using an acoustically transparent screen? Could some of the biased light actually come through the tiny holes in the screen itself? So for those of you who don't remember, because this thing sold like absolute nothing. The bias lighting is these lights that people used to put behind their flat panel displays, which would shoot out light to the sides and sometimes above and below. And the idea here is that the lighting, if it's the right, sometimes they change colors and stuff and all of that stuff. But the idea here is that you don't have these massive differences in in how your eye contracts and stuff from going from a very dark scene to a very light scene. There's always a little bit of light up front.
It stops your pupil from opening up as wide as it possibly can, and then when a brighter image shows up on your screen, it kind of blinds you and your pupil has to close down, and then you can't see the shadow detail.
And we've all experienced that before in movie theaters or at home, where you're watching a scene, they're inside and everybody, it's a romantic scene, and the next scene is they're outside running for their lives again.
Right.
And you're like, I cannot see right now. Hold on. Let my eyes adjust. That's what this is for. Now, there's no reason why you can't use this with a projection setup. You would put the light...
Well, there's some reason why you can't. You have to be careful.
There's no reason why it couldn't be. How about that? So the idea here is that you would put it behind the bezel, the
frame,
the frame. Well, the black part, the mat, the mat thing, and it would be shooting out to the sides with above and beyond, and do the same sort of thing. If you had an acoustically transparent screen, or even if you didn't, to be honest with you, but if you had an acoustically transparent screen, you would make sure that no light could go back behind it.
Right.
So there'd have to be some sort of baffle or cover that would just make it shoot out to the sides, and that would be it. How would this work? I don't know. I mean, I'm sure somebody sells something, but this is like one of, as my wife loves to say, one of the quintessential first world problems. It's like, oh, my iris has to close up. I said, got too wide when I was opening. Now I've lost 15 seconds worth of enjoyment of this movie, and I'm like, I don't know. Joe Kane's not wrong, and I don't care.
Bias lights are effective. They work. They help your perception of blacks looking even blacker. So that's all nice. Yeah. The specific of it is that you need to make sure that the light that is coming from behind the screen is not going to end up on the front of the screen, which means the rest of your room has to be black. The walls, the ceiling, the floor, the surface behind you, your seats, preferably
you don't want it to go off. What? I feel like this is like our most racist podcast, and I feel like it's 50% my fault.
It has nothing to do with that. I'm saying, you cover yourself in a shroud so that, it's the same conditions as what you would ideally have for a projector anyway, which is a pitch black bat cave with no light besides the projector, and no reflective surfaces, so that the light that hits the screen doesn't then reflect off of the screen, bounce off of some other surface, and make its way back onto the screen to wash it out. So this is just another source of light. You just want to make sure that the only place that you see that light is from behind the screen, that it doesn't have any way of making its way back onto the screen, which will wash out the image. It just will.
And in your room, it almost certainly does. You almost certainly have a white ceiling. You do, because you are a normal human being.
Joe Kane's room is covered in black velvet.
Right.
All right, his seats are all completely black. It's a black hole in his room. So this works. This works in his setup. It doesn't wash out the image because there's nothing in his room to reflect the light back onto the screen except the whites of his eyes. So, put in some of those demon contacts, because can't have that.
Do you have some of those?
No. I don't go that far.
We mentioned before that for some reason, Dolby Digital Plus bitstreams seem to cause problems for some AV receivers. I mean, some people have mentioned that to us. It's never been a problem for me. But anyways, Nick has run into this himself. He has an Onkyo 805 that clearly says it's compatible with Dolby Digital Plus, but he has noticed that if he streams from Netflix or HBO Go using his Roku 3, he gets noise from his front left speaker every 10 to 15 minutes, and it sounds like terrible clipping. So he's concerned about potentially damaging something. If he uses his Apple TV to stream the exact same content, he gets no audio problems. But the Apple TV is only outputting a regular Dolby Digital bitstream, not a Dolby Digital Plus like the Roku 3. So there's a fix to this. He can't imagine Onkyo will release a firmware update for the 805 at this point. Is the Dolby Digital Plus bitstream actually higher quality audio than the Dolby Digital bitstream? Onkyo, this 805 is a little bit older, right?
It's a little bit older.
So there is Dolby Digital Plus that is on your Blu-ray or your Blu-ray discs, right?
That's it's really rare. I'm trying to even think of one, but
I mean, I think that for a while that was like
it was on HD DVDs.
Yeah, then it was something that was available, but I don't know that it's exactly the same thing as what's being streamed. The streamed one is actually different, isn't it? It has the same name, but it's different. So I'm wondering if that's different.
Why Dolby Digital Plus was highly versatile. You had the option of encoding it at a lower bit rate than regular Dolby Digital with supposedly the same quality as regular Dolby Digital, or you could increase the bit rate quite a bit to get something that was very close to lossless. It was never fully lossless, but you could get kind of close.
So is that why his Onkyo is doing this? Is it's in
no, it's not that. There were some decoder issues in some of the earlier AV receivers with Dolby Digital Plus. Dolby did some changes. There were firmware updates for a lot of AV receivers. If there is no update available right now for your 805, it's unlikely there's going to be a future one, which means you're just kind of hosed at this point. The fix for it was firmware updates for AV receivers that had this issue. It was a known issue. Quite a few AV receivers did get updates. If yours didn't get one, then that's kind of unfortunately the end of the story. What they're sending out from Netflix is the lower bit rate, lower than regular Dolby Digital bit rate that is supposed to sound the same as Dolby Digital. So when you're listening to it up through your Apple TV, you're getting the same quality. It's not like you're losing quality by not having the Dolby Digital bitstream in this case. One option, like in Roku's lineup, only the Roku Ultra will actually transcode the Dolby Digital Plus to regular Dolby Digital. In the case of the Apple TV, it's actually decoding the Dolby Digital Plus to 5.1 PCM and then re-encoding it as Dolby Digital. That's what it's actually doing behind the scenes. So yeah. If you have that Apple TV available to you and if it's giving you no audio problems, use that for now, because you're not losing any quality or anything like that. That's not the case.
Want your question answered? Send it to question@avrant.com. This is AVRant.
Now go out and listen to something.